Welcome to the Gibson Sigauke show. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Welcome. If you are hearing me, just say something in the chat. Just say something in the chat. Say something in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, all. Welcome to the Gibson Sigauke show. Okay. So we're just getting started. We're just getting started, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here right now. So yesterday we talked a lot about Luke chapter 6, verse 38. And today again we're gonna start from that angle and then we'll continue with that angle as we go forward. And we will also delve into a lot of other things similar to the ones that we were talking about yesterday. So that's how it looks like today again. So the structure of the show is actually similar to the one that we had yesterday. So we'll get started from there. And drop your questions in the chat. If you have got any questions, we'll be answering them live. Just drop them in the chat. Just drop them in the chat, right? So Luke chapter 6, verse 38, as I was talking yesterday, it says, "Given shall be given back unto you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, shall people put into your bosom." And I explained yesterday the deeper meaning that this is actually God's way to become rich, right? If you want people to give you money, you have to create value. And for you to create value, it means you need a skill. So if you don't have a skill, you need to learn a skill. And once you have a skill, you use it to create value and you can sell that value to other people. So that is actually how this scripture is talking to you about how to create value, how to make money. And this is actually a Bible verse that I was talking to you about, right? So God will give you talent, and then it is your responsibility to turn that talent into a skill. So talent is a seed. Skill is what you do with that seed. So if you remember the parable of the talents, God gives them talents that they were supposed to watch over, and the other guy invested the talents. The other guy again invested the talents, but the other one just complained and he said, "You know what? This was too little for me," and he didn't do anything with it. Um, but that talent, the others that what they had, they actually invested, right? And investing in that, they actually profited from that. So think of it that way, that God will give you a talent. And once God has given you a talent, it is your job then um to develop that talent into a skill, right? So if you have a gift in oratory skills, maybe you're good at talking, maybe you become a journalist, right? Then you develop yourself to become a journalist. Maybe you're good in languages, maybe you become a writer or something like that, or you become a lawyer. Just because you're good in languages, you understand things and you're able to write them well. Maybe you're good in maths, then you turn that maths into an engineer. The examples are endless. Okay. So in my case, I was good in sciences, I was good in maths, and I became a pharmacist, right? So I can tell you that a lot of people who became doctors or became pharmacists, they were good in sciences, and they turned that talent of being good in sciences into a profession called maybe doctor or maybe a pharmacist, right? So once you have a talent, you need to turn it into a skill. And once you turn it into a skill, then you start to sell the value that you're creating with that skill. So that happens in different ways. There are many ways of actually selling this value. I'll talk about this and expand it on another day on the levels of what skill types of value that you can sell. But today I just want you to know that you turn the talent from talent to skill, then the skill create value, and then that's what you're selling. So when you get a job as a pharmacist, you are actually being employed because you bring value to that company because you are now a pharmacist. But for you to become a pharmacist is because you're good in science or something like that, and then you went to school and then you turned that talent into a skill called pharmacy. And that was my case. So that's my first that's my first level of creating value that I had. I am a pharmacist, so I was a pharmacist and I worked as a pharmacist. And I actually started a business. I started actually several businesses around pharmacy, opened pharmacies, and they flopped at some point in time. But I opened a small wholesale, a pharmaceutical wholesale, and that one prospered. And the sole reason it prospered, it was because I was not really selling hard. I was just selling to a few pharmacists in my community, few pharmacists that already knew me, and they were just buying some specific products from me. So I had a very small SKU, very small number of products that I was just selling to a very small group of people, but it was actually profitable, and I ended up selling it, right? But for me to create that small wholesale, it was because I understood medicines, and it was because also I am a pharmacist. So I had turned my skill, I turned my talent into a skill, and then because I had this skill, I could now actually start a wholesale. Right. So the takeaway that I want you to get today is God will give you the talents. God will give you the talent, but you will build the skill out of that. The skill will then build the business. Right. That is the order. So don't try to skip this order. A lot of people try to skip these steps, and then they end up being very, very disappointed because they think things work differently. But in actual case, things literally work the same way. They do not really work differently. This is exactly how things work. All right. Okay. So thank you so much. If you're just coming into the chart, this is the Gibson Sigauke show. We touch different subjects here. We talk about things to do with business. We talk about AI. We talk about your health, and we will be talking about relationships, different things, right? Just helping ordinary people to win in life. So welcome to the show, and I really appreciate your presence, whether you're watching this live right now or you're gonna watch it after. Okay, thank you so much for coming to the show. All right. So that's exactly how that works, right? So I built this small business and I managed to sell it to another guy who was trying to open a wholesale, and then I sold the business to him um after about 3.5 years, just like after 3 years, yes. So the talent, I want you to understand that as a pharmacist, um I was exposed to this opportunity, right? Because I had a skill in that area, I had a skill in that environment, and I was seeing what was happening. And there are a lot of people who see skill, who see opportunities in areas that they are not part of the community. There a lot of people do that. But the easiest way to do it to make your first money is actually to see opportunities in an area that you're spending 8 hours to 12 hours a day, which means your work area or the area that you were trained or you went to school to study, something like that. Okay. But in my case, I was really exposed to the pharmaceutical industry. I'm still exposed even until today. And I was also exposed when I would do these travels to other countries like China, where I was inspecting a lot of companies and I would be seeing how they operate, what they are selling, and I'll be making connections around that area. So that's exactly what I was doing with that, and that's exactly how I got to understand this or this industry, and that gave me my first understanding of actually starting a business and then even selling it. So even when I moved to America, I used that experience also in just starting things and start to sell them. And it gave me a lot of exposure. But when I came here, also I saw the difference of how people do things in Africa as compared to how things actually happen in America. But the takeaway still remains that you need to turn your talents into skill, and then after turning your talent into skill, you can then create value that you can sell. You can sell it as you're working for somebody, or you can then create a company in that, right? So the truth of the matter is, back then, myself, my age was being a pharmacist who understood supply chain, who understood maybe manufacturing, and a lot of people asking, okay, should I go back and do a pharmacy degree or something like that? I can say maybe already you have done a program, or you haven't done a program, but you're already positioned into something. So look around where you are. What are you doing right now? Are there no opportunities for you to actually start a business? But if there are no opportunities right now, there is an opportunity for everyone. The age for 2026 for everyone right now is the age of AI. So AI is is leveling up the playing field for everyone, and everyone is starting from the same page, because today in 2026, this new age is available to everyone, and you don't need any degree actually to use it. You just need to understand tools, and then you start to use them to solve problems, right? So the principle is the same. Find a skill that lets you create value that others cannot. Then, back then or even today, for some other professions, knowledge was specialized, right? Knowledge, pharmacists are specialized knowledge. But today with AI, you can actually start to learn something, because knowledge is all over, right? Knowledge is all over. Knowledge is all over. So how do you start? How do you start that business? I think the most important thing right now is you need to start by researching, and after researching, you actually see if there are trends in an area that you want to attack. So generally in the area of AI right now, the trend is good. It is booming, it is growing. Then you need to find your own niche inside the trends of AI, right? Inside that trend, what is the niche that you're going to attack? And then you narrow down to see if you can really learn the skill, whether it's AI automation, AI video creation, whether you're going to create pictures using AI. What exactly are you going to do with AI? Are you going to do social media AI production, AI content production? Are you going to do automation? Are you doing vibe coding? There are a lot of things that you can do with AI, but the question is, are you going to learn that and stick with it maybe for a year, so that you can actually see the results as you continue to learn and also doing that, right? Okay. um yeah, so let's go to the next segment of health. If you have good questions, just send them in the chat. Send them in the chat, I'll be seeing them. If you have good questions, I'll be seeing them in the chat. If you have got any questions, I'll be actually taking them. But yeah, but building money, doing all these things, they're good if your health is also in good shape, right? So on this show also, we do ask the pharmacist anything if you've got questions, especially around metabolic diseases, metabolic conditions, things to those are things like diabetes, pre-diabetes. We're going to talk a little bit before about hypertension and things like that. So if you've got questions, you can throw them in. We will be answering that, right? So we were talking about losing weight yesterday. And remember, this is just general education. This is not personal medical advice. See your doctor if you've got a specific situation. I'm not offering something that will amount to patient, pharmacist, or doctor relationship here. This is just pharmacist level of general education. Okay. Okay. So yesterday I said, if you want to lose weight, start by eating less. All right. And then that's exactly what I said. Eat less and start to move. Right. That will improve your metabolic system or your metabolism. Right. Today I will add to that and say, stop eating refined foods. If you can, stop eating refined foods. So the first thing is just eating less. And then the second thing is actually understanding what you are eating. So I think I'll start by saying the don'ts, right? Because this is big, this is general. Refined foods are 90% of the food that a lot of people are eating in today's world, right? So that's like your bread, just the white bread, that bread that you find in the shop, the sugar, the processed stuff, right? Those food, if you can limit eating refined foods, that will help you a lot. Okay, so to start with, just eat less. You don't need a perfect diet when you're starting to do these things. First of all, just eat less. Then the second thing, start moving, right? Which means exercising. And then as you move, now the next thing is just eat less refined food, right? Eat less refined food. Okay. A lot of people who would come into the pharmacy for the first time, or maybe with a prescription, of metformin or whatever prescription for diabetes, usually they are surprised when they start to hear that you can actually manage your condition with diet, or you can reverse it with diet. And a lot of people are surprised, like, how does this connect? How does this work? But that's exactly what it is. Diabetes and other metabolic conditions, they're primarily lifestyle diseases. They reflect the way you've lived your life for the past maybe 10 years or more, right? And they're just a manifestation of how poor the metabolism was being maintained. Okay, so you realize that if you're a pharmacist and you've worked in a pharmacy or worked with a lot of patients, a lot of people who then get into diabetes, they're also way in a way that promotes diabetes, especially we're talking about diabetes type 2 here, right? Okay, not diabetes type 1, but this is type 2, diabetes mellitus. Okay, now, so the first thing is just remove the refined foods. If you can remove the refined foods, you are maybe now 60% on your way to actually recover from this metabolic condition, which is not good for your body. All right. So just a recap again. Number one, eat less. Number two, start to move, which means exercise. Then number three, stop eating refined foods. So you don't need a special diet. You just need to start with these three things. And we're going to talk more about this as we go ahead. But those are the most important things right now that you need to take away from this show. And that can actually improve your life. It can change a lot of things, right? Okay, if you have good questions, I would want to see them in the chat, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I love to see you on this chat. So I really appreciate your presence, whether you're here live or you're going to watch this after the show. Okay, we're going to hold this show every day, Monday to Friday at the same time. So put this in your calendar, invite other people, and it will be fun when we gather and we a lot of people talking the same language, trying to learn a lot of things together. Okay, all right. So on the funny part, right, I also do some jokes, I do some fun things, right? But this time we're just focused on the World Cup. If you're ready for the World Cup, guys, we're doing some watch parties today. We're going to do a watch party on Senegal and versus France, right? This is very fun. Like, so the match between Senegal and France, I don't know how to really sometimes say it out, because to me it looks like it's Senegal playing against another African country, because a lot of French players, they are basically from Africa, or they got their roots from Africa, right? Which makes it cool, because sometimes we feel like, which team should I support, right? So I will be honest with you, today I'll be supporting Senegal, but after, when the competition continues to go forward, I'll come back and start to support France again, because I just feel like France is an extension of an African country when it comes to soccer, because a lot of their players, if you look at those players, Mbappe, for example, they've got their roots in Africa. But this is going to be an interesting match. So we are focusing this month on the World Cup, guys. If you can join us on the World Cup watch party, on this semi handle, the YouTube. We only do this on YouTube. So if you can come on YouTube and watch with us, make comments, do some analysis, that would be very, very appreciated, and that would be great. Okay, so I hope to see you there if you can manage to actually come. And also, if you have not yet subscribed on our YouTube channel, please do so. If you're watching us from Facebook or somewhere else, make sure also to subscribe and to follow us. This show is going to be a great show. It's just getting started, but as we continue going, it is going to move forward, and we're going to have a lot of interesting things on this live show, as we will be traveling around the world, traveling around the globe, and also traveling around the United States of America, just seeing different places, seeing different entrepreneurs, talking with people, ordinary people, and seeing how we can make this show very interesting and at the same time beneficial to you. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you being at this show. I'll be seeing you tomorrow on the same time, but today remember to also attend on the same YouTube channel. We will be doing